Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday Tea Time for St Andrews Golf Magazine. This week we're joined by Les Bailey of Pro Golf Now and Elizabeth Bethel, also of Pro Golf Now. And we'll be discussing the goings on in the world of golf from last week, looking at the LPGA Championship and its bright future with the change of organisation and major events around it. And we'll be looking at the PGA Tour's Wyndham Championship, the Made in Denmark tournament briefly, and then ahead to the start of the FedEx Cup playoffs. And we'll complete the show by looking at the US Ryder Cup team, the first 9 players on the team, as we found out last week. So last week was the 4th major on the LPGA Tour, and another amazing tournament in this incredible season on the LPGA. Indy Park incredibly won the tournament. I mean, I watched a replay on Monday. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch it live. But it never looked at any stage like Brittany Lincicome was going to hand this thing away, and she did really at the last day with a very tentative putt, and then lost in the playoff. So, but another superstar winning in women's golf, Elizabeth.
Well, you know, I watched it, and I watched the moment when she did give it away. It was on the 72nd hole when she and Pedersen both had a chip, but Pedersen had a drop, and Pedersen was trying to salvage something out of that round. And she took her time. It was a very slow process. She was making the decision on the drop, and then Pedersen spent a great deal of time cleaning her putting path. And I mean, it was just very drawn out. And I watched Lincicome walk down the fairway to the green. She felt okay. She seemed okay. She knew she had a one-shot lead, but she was handling that. And then she stood there, and she waited, and she waited, and she waited for Pedersen to take her shot. And she was visibly trembling by the time she made her chip, or I guess she putted, Pedersen chipped. Yeah. And that was that short little chip. And then she had that long, long putt to save things and couldn't do it. That was when she lost it.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the playoff hole. It was there.
No, it's a shame because she really did play so well.
Yes.
In most of the round, and just gave it away there with a very tentative putt. And I remember the announcer actually making the call saying that that's what happens when she's nervous, under pressure, that she leaves the putt short. And she did leave it woefully short.
Yes, it was woeful.
And yeah, she's lost it. But Indy Park, she stayed in there, and she was really the only other contender going down the final 9 holes.
Yeah.
And now she's won that 4th major in 2 years. So suddenly the last 4 without winning doesn't seem so bad when you say she's won 4 in 2 years.
No, but it was a sad loss for Lincicome.
Yeah.
Well, from what I understand, Lincicome and Suzann Pedersen don't get along all that well anyway.
Oh, really?
This is just something I was watching part of the tournament, and I know that Brittany didn't want to play. I mean, it's not that she didn't want to play with Suzann, but she was disappointed that she got paired with her. So, for whatever that's worth.
Boy.
Well, I think it's a major championship, and your disagreement with a player or whatever, you've got to focus on your own ball.
That's exactly right. Look at the finish in the PGA Championship when everybody was scrambling and everybody was hitting balls and the storm was coming in, and plenty of distractions for somebody,
Yeah, and Suzann Pedersen can be a very intimidating person. As somebody who was a rookie at an event, it was the first event I attended, the Women's British Open, and I tried to get a few interviews, and Brittany Lincicome was really, really friendly. We'd been tweeting her all week. She'd been tweeting back, and then I had about 5 or 10 minute conversation with her. And then Suzann Pedersen came through, and I asked her, what would it be like to win at the home of golf? And her answer was, I'll tell you if it happens.
And she's definitely not the media darling.
No. Anybody's darling. I think she's very intimidating.
And she can uncork some F-bombs and make Tiger Woods blush.
Blush.
But she's a good golfer, and she will. I mean, she's defending Evian soon, and yes, he was in the final group this week, and it just didn't go well for her at all, did it, Elizabeth?
Well, she played horribly, so whatever was going on with her, it was. I mean, her game was just very, very soft. So I don't know. I guess I'm of the school that says you play with the devil if you have to. I have a few times. You know, we all have.
We all play rounds of golf, especially in competition, where
Yes.
you don't connect with the person you're playing with. But if you're an individual pursuit, and you, especially Petterson having won a major so recently, her focus should have been on winning that next title, and for her to, for the pair of them really to disagree, I don't know. We don't know. It's all speculation, but
Yes.
it seems to be pretty solid speculation. You look at the way they but it's a shame, but it shouldn't overshadow that Inby Park came through, and she made the birdie when she had to on 17, didn't she? Her putting was amazing.
Inby Park can deliver. You know, Inby Park has been at the edge of Sunday many, many times in her career, and I really admire her ability to deliver under pressure. It's quite impressive.
She doesn't seem to get ahead of herself, does she? She just
No, she doesn't.
takes the next shot, and you know the rule in golf is the next shot is the most important one.
And didn't she say that she feels all the emotions that everybody else goes through, but she doesn't show them because everybody's saying, "Oh, she's not." She doesn't go through the nerves and
that's
ice queen or whatever. But she said that she does feel that, but she just doesn't show it. And obviously, if you don't show it, you're not spending time, wasting time showing emotion and stressing yourself out by showing emotion, unlike other golfers on both tours. But it's certainly now with Mo Martin won the Women's British Open, but you look at the other major winners now: Suzanne Petterson, Lexi Thompson, Michelle Wee, Indy Park. It really has been a banner year for LPGA golf, and the next major being the Evian Championship as well. European golf strong, and this event is going on to bigger and better things. It's the end of the LPGA Championship as we know it. Next year, the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, I think run by both the LPGA and the PGA of America.
Yes.
That's correct. And it's going to rotate around the New York region, I think, for a few years, and then they're trying to take it to big markets, Chicago, I suppose, or California, cities. And it just really, I mean, from a PGA standpoint, it would be nice if they could keep it in New York, because that's obviously where the PGA of America was founded. Major city, huge crowds, great exposure for women's golf in a passionate golfing area, and I think that they would do well to keep it there. Actually, Westchester Country Club is where it is next year, isn't it?
Well, we'll see what they do with it. I think it's going to go on the road.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that's a good thing for the championship, or should it have a permanent home?
I don't know. I think right now everybody is still in the throes of the final LPGA Championship, and Well, while the company line is, well, this is good because it's growth. You know, that's the standard comment. That when something as long and deep and rich as the LPGA Championship draws to a close, whatever the circumstances and whatever the future, there's a period of mourning that goes on, and I believe that's where things are right now. I mean, the video that I put up of all the players giving their farewell to Rochester and thanking Rochester for years and years and years, 38 of them, of support, was really very, very bittersweet for me to watch that and think, well, it's always sort of sad to see a tradition end.
Yeah.
So I really believe we need to finish that up as fans, that sense of ending, before we can get all urged up about beginning. But do I think it's good? Well, yes, I do, for all kinds of reasons. I think it's good because bigger market means bigger coverage. The partnership is stronger. The collaboration is more powerful and will promote women's golf more effectively. Is it good to end a tradition? No, never. There's always a loss of heritage. So it's a mixed bag here.
I mean, there's no reason, I suppose, that they can't just, okay, it's a different title, organisation change, but it's still the LPGA Championship, really, and there's no reason why the names of the previous winners can't go on this new trophy.
Well, and they will. They
Yeah.
will. The names, the list, all of that is gliding right over.
Yeah.
So they're not going to lose that. But I don't think the name is going to. It's now the Women's PGA Championship, period.
Which Les, to bring you in on this, I think it brings up the possibility, the distinct possibility, of the Women's PGA continually following the Men's PGA, and could we potentially see a Pinehurst situation again, where the Women's PGA is played on the same course?
Well, I personally think that brings the LPGA more recognition when they do that. But and I think the PGA Championship for the ladies, much like the PGA Championship for the men, should be played on a different venue every year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they have their one fixed tournament with the Kraft Nabisco, and the men have their one fixed at the Masters, and you know, gives everybody else in the country a chance to see a major tournament, you know.
Oh, the Evian's also fixed.
It's also what?
Fixed.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry.
This is only the second year for the Evian to be a major championship, so it needs to grow a little bit, you know, to maybe someday they just start moving it around Europe a little bit, you know. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there'll be slight difficulty with that because, okay, it's sponsored by Evian, but it's also played in Evian, so that
right, but sponsors do change, you know.
But the tradition of that tournament has grown up from that golf course, that sponsor, for the last 18 or 19 years. So that I think that will be difficult to do, and I don't think they should do that. I don't.
Well, I spent most of my childhood watching the Greater Greensboro Open, but now it's called the Wyndham. You know, things change. I mean, it was 38 years it was played as the Greensboro Open.
Yeah, but it's played virtually the same golf course.
Yeah, within 3 or 4 golf courses. Yeah, it's not been in exactly the same venue every year, but.
I mean, no, it could change, and we could see that tournament moving around. But yeah, I think possibly you are right to see the Women's PGA move around. But I do think there could be more collaboration between the two tournaments, and we could see them begin to align the men's and women's schedules a bit closer together in terms of majors, because you have the Kraft Nabisco the week before the Masters, you have The US Women's Open this year was the week after the US Open. The Women's British Open was the week before the Men's Open. So we're getting some sort of alignment there with the schedule, which is good for women's golf because minds are on golf around major championships.
Yeah, the thought just went through my mind. Picture this: the ladies playing at Augusta. The week after the Masters, the ladies' Masters at Augusta. Man, wouldn't that be a kick in the tail?
That's really, really a delicious image, Les. I like that one.
I wonder if Condoleezza Rice could make that happen.
If anybody could make it happen, Condi could make it happen. If we could get Condi and Darla Moore online with this one, I see a future.
So I think it's going to be a great move for the tournament, and obviously the history will continue, the heritage will continue. It just gets bigger and bigger with the KPMG, I think, Women's Leaders Conference as well around it, which will bring attention to women in sport and business and stuff. So I think it's going to be a good move for it. But it's a great way to see the championship end, back-to-back wins for Inby Park, and now we move into this new era. But last week also on the PGA Tour we had the Wyndham Championship, the last regular event before the FedEx Cup playoffs, and Camilo Villegas came out of hiding, so to speak, and with his new swing won at the Wyndham Championship.
What wasn't that great? I mean, he shot. His at the Honda Classic last year, he shot 63 on Thursday and then missed the cut on Friday, and that was his last tournament win. By the way, was at the Honda Classic. Mm-hmm. And when he shot 63 on Thursday, I wrote an article, said, hey, maybe this is the time, and I seen him come up the leaderboard on Sunday, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be good, because he posted that 63 early, because he had dropped back a couple of strokes, and I was glad to see it stand up.
Yeah, it was, and it was an unfortunate finish for a couple of players on the 72nd hole.
Yeah, Heath Slocum, I guess he just did a little bit of a meltdown. I guess his nerves got to him, but it definitely cost him.
But obviously, I mean, Heath Slocum won the Barclays a few years ago, didn't he? And yeah. He was possibly fighting. Did he make the playoffs in the end, or
no? He was 2 or 3 out of the bubble position. He gets he gets to go play in the Web.com playoffs to get his card, to retain his card, but he doesn't play in the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Okay, well, I mean, that championship has produced quite a few different winners over the years, and it is an unfortunate. I don't know. It could be viewed as being unfortunate timing. The week after the PGA, the week before the playoffs, Ryder Cup coming up a few weeks' time as well. So you've got that week where most of the top players take it off, but then it is really a pressure-packed event because players are trying to keep their cards, they're trying to qualify for the playoffs, they're trying to win on the tour as well.
And trying to make the Ryder Cup, some of them.
So it did bring a bit more spotlight to the event, despite the fact that there was a lack of top 10 players, so to say. So
yeah, they were taking a break because the two main cogs there that I think are really trying to impress Captain Tom are Brent Snedeker and Webb Simpson, and I'm not sure that Billy Haas isn't trying to say, hey, coach, I'm out here too, Yeah.
There's a few contenders now. I mean, with Mickelson making his way onto the team, there's certainly a few contenders to get onto the team, which we'll talk about shortly. But it was good to see Camilo win because he was that sort of star from South America who was brash and bright colours and everything, and he brings a lot to the game.
Yes, he does.
Particularly with the Olympics coming up in a couple of years, he'll want to be on that in that field. So I think it's a good win for him and Colombian golf in general. But it's a good lead into the FedEx Cup playoffs, and this year they're going to be as competitive as ever. No Tiger Woods, of course, due to his injury and lack of form. But Rory McIlroy goes into the playoffs in a commanding position. But obviously, as we all know, with this point system, it doesn't really matter much what you do during the regular season.
Well, it does, because you get a little bit of an advantage. Not a lot in the first tournament, but there's 125 in the first tournament, and you got to stay in that top 100 to get to the next one. So it becomes important to play well week to week, because you always 2,500 points for the winner. You're always within striking distance of that top spot.
Yeah. It's a good, exciting 4-tournament series on its own, almost, really. I do get sort of annoyed when they say it's a season-long competition, because it really comes down to these 4 tournaments. It isn't a season-long competition as such, because Rory McIlroy could have won 4 majors and still be in the same position going in.
Yeah.
And if somebody wins 4 playoff tournaments, they're going to win the FedEx Cup.
Well, in the last 2 years, last year Stenson won 2 of them.
Yeah.
And the year before that, I think Snedeker just won the Tour Championship, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
But then Rory won 2 of them, and he still didn't win
He still didn't win, yeah.
Didn't win the FedEx Cup. So go figure,
It's always needed some tweaking, and I think that the point system will never fit everybody's sort of idea.
Well, no, and I even mentioned it in a blog on Monday that NASCAR kind of adopted their race for the chase at the end of the season after the FedEx Cup, and it has its problems too. It's just like the FedEx Cup does. Nothing's really perfect, and I think it really plays to whoever gets hot at this time of year, and that's pretty true in soccer, football, basketball. Whoever's hot and the playoffs come off, has the best chance.
Yeah, and I think it's something which.
That's my that's my alarm telling me about the Tuesday tea time. That keeps moving around at times we start. So. Hey, my phone reminds
me. You were being arrested.
No, my phone reminds me of everything, including the Tuesday tea time.
That's awesome. I've got to get one for my phone. Obviously, I wouldn't need reminding because I'd be here presenting it. But where were we?
We're talking about the FedEx Cup.
FedEx Cup.
We're talking about the imperfect process of rankings.
Yes, well, that's the same in the world rankings, but obviously the world rankings don't lead to anything in particular, only standing. But I would say that the point system now certainly delivers what the PGA Tour wants, which is that big bang ending.
Well, sure. And to go back to the NASCAR thing, NASCAR for years, it was the best driver over the period of the whole year that actually won the title, and they even saw that they needed to provide a playoff system, and which is what the FedEx Cup is, and it all boils down to getting in and getting hot at the right time, So.
Yeah, it does, and it's going to be a stellar field this week in New York. I think it's Plainfield, isn't it, that's hosting the championship this year.
Yes.
They moved that around the New York metropolitan.
Paramus, New Jersey.
Yeah. So it's an old traditional sort of style course, completely different from Liberty National or like that.
Yes, it's a conglomeration of 3 9-hole courses that were built back in the early days by Tillinghast, and they collaborate the holes from all 27 holes to make the one for the championship.
Oh, how interesting!
That's almost like Royal Melbourne.
Yeah.
that's what Royal Melbourne want to do. So,
Tell Elizabeth that had you read my blog this morning, she would have known that.
I've been busy learning to relearning how to write blogs. My editor gave me a critique a couple of days ago, and I've been struggling to conform to his critique. So I haven't had a lot of time to do extracurricular reading because I've been so hard at work myself. Sorry.
That's all right.
So obviously, we're coming the week off for Rory McIlroy. He had time to play golf on TV last night with Tiger. Well, Tiger wasn't really playing, was he? He was stood there.
No. And Jimmy Fallon. I think Tiger critiqued Rory's lesson for Jimmy Fallon. I think that's what it was all about.
Yeah. But Rory obviously comes in here as without question the favourite. And is it just a matter of if he turns up with the same game he's had in the last 3 events, he wins, or?
Well, you know, the laws of physics say he's going to wear out pretty soon, but he keeps saying that, hey, give me more golf. I want more golf, and it seems to be working out for him pretty well right now.
He had a year off, really, didn't he? So he's
yeah. Well, yeah.
He's also very young. He can do this because he's very young.
Yeah, but you know, the last 3 tournaments he's played in, he's won, which means he's been under pressure for the entire 4 rounds, and that gets to you after a while. The constant, being in the lead has to take its toll somewhere.
We saw that, didn't it? It took its toll on the front 9 at Valhalla on the final day, and look what happened on the back 9. And now he's had a week off, he's had a bit of fun, relaxing. He's been home. He went to the Manchester United game at the weekend and presented the claret jug to the 70,000 fans there. And so he's had a good, relaxing week. And I think you have to say, I mean, he's without question the favourite to win the FedEx Cup. And
us American guys can hope he wears himself out before he gets to Glen Eagles,
We'll get into that in just a moment. It's a strong field and the start of the FedEx Cup playoffs. And really, I mean, it's difficult to predict who's going to win the FedEx Cup because the thing's so up in the air, really, with the point system. So, but it's 4 good tournaments on 4 great golf courses. TPC Boston next week, which has really elevated the golf course. There have quite a few changes there in recent years, and then I think it's the week off, isn't it, in the middle this time.
And then it's to Cherry Hills.
Then Cherry Hills, which will be a really spectacular return to golf there, and then East Lake, of course, to round it off. And always you've got that potential of somebody getting a hole-in-one to win $11.1 million.
Yeah.
I just cannot wait to see it. It's got to happen one day.
Well, the 3 guys that are going in here as hot as anybody in the world is Rory, Henrik, and Ricky Fowler.
Yeah.
So you got to think that out of these 4 tournaments, they're probably going to win 2 of them at least between them.
Rory wins the other 2, and then through the laws of this point system, Rory doesn't win it.
Well, I wouldn't forget about Phil. Phil has a habit of getting hot.
Yeah.
And he loves the Northeast. The fans up there love him. So in New Jersey and TPC Boston, where he has won before, could be Phil's turn.
Well, it certainly could. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He could get hot and win all 4 tournaments, really. I mean,
I don't want to count him out. I mean, you'd like to say, there was a fluke finishing second at the PGA, but he played pretty well.
Oh yeah, he played great. He did deserve to be in that.
And had that chip shot dropped on 18, it might have been a different story there.
Oh, it would have been. So another season of the FedEx Cup playoffs coming up, and it should be interesting to see over the next 4 or 5 weeks what happens, and it sort of sets the scene for the 2014 Ryder Cup at Glen Eagles. Brilliantly, really, and in the middle of the playoffs, on the same day, which is interesting, the European team and the American team complete their teams with their wildcard picks. The United States qualifying ended at the LPGA Championship, and we now have the 9 players for the team. And Phil Mickelson qualifying must be a huge relief, weight off the shoulder of Tom Watson.
Yeah, the other guy that really needed to play his way in was Keegan Bradley, but I think that would have made Tom real happy if Bradley, because I know he wants Bradley on the team. I want Bradley on the team, so he basically has 2 more picks left.
He does, but the thing is, I would say that Ricky Fowler's on the team. You've got Jordan Spieth on the team. Pretty much all the main stars of American golf are on the team. But outside of that, who would you pick? Because obviously Jason Duffner.
Well, that brings me down to a question. I have a question that I'm not sure I understand. What happens if we get over there and Matt Kuchar and Jason Duffner just can't perform? I mean,
well, if they have to pull out before a shot's been hit,
they have to what?
Yeah, if they have to pull out before the play begins, or their round begins.
And then that would allow whoever's 10th to move up.
I'm not sure. I think it would have to be. Don't quote me on this, but I think it has to be before the day of play. And if they pull out on the day of play after the draw's been made, it's a half match.
Okay. So if he takes Steve Stricker over as a assistant captain,
yeah.
And before they tee off, and Jason Duffner says, "Hey, I can't go," you know.
I think if, for example, the pairings have been made, and then Jason Duffner can't play because of injury, obviously with the 4 balls and foursomes, there will be, I think they'll be allowed to use some of the players that aren't being used in that session.
Right, they can set them out, but if they make this determination before they make the drawings, then they could elevate Stricker as a pick. And
no, if it's a singles match, so say you got to Saturday night, the draw's made for Sunday, the player's injured, that is a half match.
Okay, so if Duffner plays 4 balls in for 2 days and decides that his hand hurts or his bulging neck and his neck hurts, then he could elevate Stricker into a playing position before the draw is made.
I think so, but I'm not entirely certain. I think there would be
that was my question, because I almost think that Watson may have pulled Stricker in as a assistant captain for the purpose, and he's told him already to make sure you take your clubs with you. I mean, Tom might have to play.
They might win then.
I wouldn't put that out of the question. You know, him being able to pick up a point or 2 over there.
But it's a pretty strong team. I mean, it really is a strong team. But then you have obviously the injury problems with Kuchar and stuff. And
yes,
if both got injured, you'd really be struggling for players in form, because Webb Simpson's played well last week, but has done nothing since he won the US Open.
Yeah.
And Keegan Bradley really has had his worst year on tour, I would say.
Well, Bradley tried to switch putters in the middle of the season there. He tried to go to a short putter. I think that messed him up, because he started playing well after he went back to his regular big putter, and say maybe he should have done that during the off season, instead of trying to, make his aunt happy and switch now,
Yeah.
But he was starting to show signs of life there until he missed the darn cut at the PGA. I was disappointed that he'd done that. Like to see him play the PGA.
If we sit here now, who would you add to which 3 would you pick?
Well, it's funny you ask, because I wrote a blog about this the other day. The 3 people that I don't think that Tom can live without, and One is I think he needs Keegan Bradley. Keegan Bradley brings a lot of enthusiasm to the match. He hasn't putted well all year, but if you team him up with somebody that can putt, you know, he could be a big bomber for Jim Furyk, for instance, who just can't hit the ball as far. But Jim, you know, Jim can putt and he can scramble. You know, my second choice would be Brandt Snedeker, because I think Snedeker's starting to play well again, and we know that Snedeker can putt, which is what we need on that team, is people who can putt. and last but not least, depending on the rules, is I think Steve Stricker needs to be on the team also. That's my three. That's my three additions to the team. Webb Simpson isn't playing well enough to be on the team right now.
No, I would agree, and that would strengthen the team with experience, quality players who've won big tournaments, and Snedeker did play in the last Ryder Cup, so they're all Ryder Cup players. So,
yeah, some experience. I mean, you got enough rookies on there right now. You got Patrick Reed, and you got what's his name, Jordan Spieth. And I mean that's enough rookies, because I mean Spieth struggled last year in the President's Cup in that playing along with Stricker, and I don't know if he knows what he's in for when he goes over to Scotland.
Oh, I think Spieth's going to surprise you, Les.
Well,
I believe that you're going to stop saying naughty little things about Jordan Spieth after the Ryder Cup.
Jordan Spieth is one of my favorite players. I just wish he would get hot. I mean, he hasn't been able to putt this year. I mean, you know, last year he would get hot with the putter, and it seems like after the President's Cup, during the President's Cup, he just kind of fell off, and he ain't never really got back on the horse yet.
Well, you have to say that. I mean, this is getting away from subject, but we'll just talk briefly about it to end the show. Actually. Jordan Spieth had a second in the Masters. He was second, wasn't he, at Sawgrass. All the talk was about him going to US Open. What I was saying was Jordan Spieth finished runner-up at the Masters and the Players. All the talk was about him going into the summer, and it's Ricky Fowler that's really established himself as the main major contender.
Yes, absolutely, and I think Ricky Fowler next year, after he's had a year to work with this new swing, could very well be a monster next year. But I'm certainly glad he's on our Ryder Cup team.
So it's going to be a great week again on the tour. We have the Barclays coming up on the PGA Tour. We also have the Czech Masters, which isn't the biggest tournament in the world, but it is a crucial event. The second or last event qualifying for the European team, and there's a few players outside qualifying that really do need to win to have any chance of getting on the team. So, but it's been another good conversation, guys, and
you forgot to address the 59 we had on Sunday.
Yes, we did have a 59, and I was looking. And
he come close shooting a 57. He had 57 in his sights.
Yeah. Absolutely, mate. I look because he parred a par 5. I mean, he could essentially have eagled the par 5s and not bogeyed that last.
Yeah, the last hole was horrible. I mean, he just went to heck on that last hole. I mean, he was 13 under for the day before he got there. Can you imagine that? 13 under. He had 13 birdies on that card. 13 birdies.
I'm sure he's 14. It was 12 birdies and an eagle, and then he bogeyed.
Yeah, and then he bogeyed the last hole. You're right.
And that's for a guy on the Champions Tour as well.
Yeah.
First time it's ever happened. Absolutely amazing, and another astonishing feat this year. Yeah. So well done for reminding me, Les.
Yep.
We didn't see that over here. I just happened to stumble on the internet.
Well, the darn European keeps winning the tournaments there. You should be carrying it over there someplace with
we're winning.
Bernard Langer winning and Colin Montgomery on his heels.
Okay, well, from myself, from Les and Elizabeth, that's good night for this week.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.